Good morning. I'm Gary DeWaal, and this is Bridging the Week for October 30th, November 10th, and today is November 13th, 2017. Recently, a private lawsuit alleging the illegal sale of unlicensed securities and securities fraud in connection with a highly publicized initial coin offering was filed in a state court in California. This legal action comes shortly after the Securities Exchange Commission warned that ICOs could involve the offer and sale of securities that are subject to registration requirements but are not appropriately registered or exempt. Separately, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission filed and settled charges against the swap dealer, alleging that the firm failed to disclose certain price information in a manner precisely required by regulation prior to swap entry and afterwards. Winter arrived with below freezing temperatures this past weekend in New York City. So I can try to warm up and defrost. Let's get started. On October 25th, the promoters of a highly successful initial coin offering to support development of the Tezos blockchain project and other persons were named in a proposed class action lawsuit alleging the unlawful sale of securities and security fraud, among other offenses. The lawsuit, filed in a California state court, was initiated by Andrew Baker, who claimed to have purchased 5,000 tokens through the ICO, known as Tezos, that he believed he would receive when the Tezos network was launched. According to an executive summary on its website, Tezos is designed to be a decentralized blockchain like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but with a different form of governance that establishes, quote, rules for stakeholders to approve of protocol upgrades that are automatically deployed on the network, end of quote, rather than vast effective control in centralized core development teams or miners. Among other allegations, the lawsuit claims that the initiation of the Tezos network has been delayed beyond its promised launch date in September 2017, and that funds collected by the Tezos Foundation, created to manage funds raised through the ICO, quote, are not being allocated as ICO participants were told they were, end of quote. According to the lawsuit, the Tezos ICO raised $230 million US. No response pleadings have yet been filed in this action. Mr. Baker seeks restitution and disgorgement of ill-gotten gains, rescission of the purchase of his Tezos, damages, and fees. This is an interesting development in the short history of ICOs, coming just a few months after the Securities Exchange Commission and other regulators warned that ICOs might involve the issuance of securities required to be registered but not, or otherwise exempt. This is a matter worth following. Cargill Inc., a global food, agricultural, financial, and industrial products business, agreed to pay a fine of $10 million US to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission to resolve charges that, from at least 2013 to the present, it failed to comply with certain price disclosure requirements related to its offer and sale of certain unclear complex swaps, as well as other provisions of law. According to the Commission, these requirements obligated the firm prior to entering into an uncleared swap, as well as on an ongoing basis, to disclose to its counterparty the mid-market mark of the swap. This price is not permitted to include, quote, any amounts for profit, credit reserve, hedging, funding, liquidity, or any other costs or adjustments, end of quote. The purpose of this requirement, said the Commission, is to permit a counterparty to see its swap dealer's markup on its swaps. However, said the Commission, Cargill's methodology for calculating mid-market marks purportedly obfuscated the revenue the firm would derive from each swap transaction as they were based on amortizing the firm's estimated revenue on the swap. The CFTC charged Cargill with failure to compute mid-market marks correctly, failure to report correct mid-market marks to a swap data repository as also required, and failure to supervise. Cargill neither admitted nor denied any of the CFTC's findings or conclusions in its offer of settlement to avoid an administrative proceeding. In a separate statement, Cargill said that it, quote, is committed to providing its customers with the timely and accurate information they need to make risk management decisions with confidence, end of quote. Cargill was provisionally registered as a swap dealer in 2013. And finally, CME Group Exchanges resolved a number of disciplinary actions alleging breaches of prohibitions against wash sales, money passes, disruptive trading, and trading against customers, and audit trail requirements. In one disciplinary action, the Business Conduct Committee of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange ordered Franco Della Pena, a non-member, to pay a $100,000 US fine, disgorge $25,200 US, pay restitution of almost $2,000 US, and be permanently barred from directly or indirectly accessing CME Group markets for allegedly engaging in multiple round-turn E-mini S&P future transactions to transfer equity from a friend's account and another non-member's account he controlled to his own personal account. The BCC also charged Mr. Della Pena with trading E-mini S&P futures contracts between two accounts with common beneficial ownership over which he had control and failing to appear before exchange staff for an interview in connection with an investigation. Separately, the New York Mercantile Exchange charged Sudeep Maniz with violating its prohibition against engaging in disruptive practices when he allegedly used layered orders on one side of the market to execute resting orders on the other side of the market. NYMEX also charged Mr. Moniz with failing to, quote-unquote, fully answer all questions by exchange staff during an interview conducted during their investigation. Mr. Moniz agreed to pay a fine of $150,000 US and be subject to a 6-week all CME Group Exchanges access suspension to resolve NYMEX's disciplinary action. Additionally, Tower Research Capital was charged by each of the CME Group Exchanges with not ensuring that its Tag 50 user identification registrations were accurate at all times from November 1st, 2013 through December 27, 2013, and that its traders used a unique user ID as required in connection with their access to Globex. Each of the CME Group Exchanges claimed that this failure delayed their investigation into trading activities of the firm's employees. In settling disciplinary actions with Tower, however, each of the CME Group Exchanges acknowledged the firm's quote-unquote subsequent cooperation to help them complete their investigation. To resolve these matters, Tower agreed to pay a total fine of $150,000 US and disgorge profits of $162,000 US. Other disciplinary actions brought by CME Group Exchanges are discussed on the Bridging the Week website. Check it out. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Bridging the Week. As always, there's more information in each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week on the website. Check it out. I'm Gary DeWaal. Have a great week, and until the next edition of Bridging the Week, ciao.